Okay, this is all right. Hey guys, going live. A little bit late. So, okay, let's get started. Dozen. One seedling. I don't know what it is here. So, hey guys, I'm back with the sowing out stream. So today, I wanted to check on the containers that we've sown out. Yeah, a lot of them haven't come up yet. I really try to guarantee a steady temperature with the wood oven, but it might not be enough. Might have to like start the other heater too, to guarantee we can meet the temperature range that we need. Yeah, and I really need to bring in the lamp because the lamp is just more reliable to keep a steady temperature that we need. Not too hot, not too cold. Feel like the containers that we've sown out in the last, I don't know, 7 to 10 days, I feel some of them should have gotten up already, so maybe we didn't meet the right temperature. But yeah, here's a few seedlings in there. Few here and there have come up. Okay, here are some. What's this? Nothing. Okay, great. No. So yeah, let's check on them. Got a few seedlings here, so it's not so bad. It's not as bad as I thought. Yeah, let's open them up. Let's see what's going on here. So yeah, hey to everyone who's joining us. General live stream, taking questions, and if nothing happens, we're just sowing out. Here's a container of one of the best ones. This is probably the best one that I opened up like today. Seeds from Uwe Kahle. Like I said in the previous videos, they are really good, very viable. Even the older ones. This is from 2024. Seeds are still viable. Hey. How my day is going? Well, I started the wood oven and I wanted to make it nice and warm and comfortable in the office while we film. And I don't know, outside the temperatures are too warm, I guess, because there was so much smoke coming out of the oven into the room. So it took me a little bit longer to stream today. But apart from that, I'm doing great. Thank you. But yeah, I had to take another like half an hour opening windows, just making sure that all the smoke that I brought in is going out again. Sometimes, I don't know what it is. Sometimes when the temperatures are too warm outside, the oven that I'm using for sowing out and all that stuff, it doesn't get the right temperature, and then it turns into a smoke machine. But yeah, apart from that, I'm doing great. Thank you. I hope you are the same. Yeah, so here's a container that I've sown out. Look at it. There are a few seedlings here and there that have come up, but it doesn't look good. I feel like the seeds were maybe too old. Let me see how old the seeds were. 2024, so it's not the age. Might be just genetically incompatible. That stuff happens very often, that you're sowing out and the seeds cross, like when you're doing it with hybrids, that the cross wasn't really intended to be, you know. Sometimes parents just don't fit together. It's how it is in real life with people. Not everyone fits together. So now I'm removing seedlings where I feel like they might not make it. Yeah, I have one of these wood ovens, trying to save a little bit heating, you know, right now, because we are, I'm not sure when I will be able to order, like where I live. I live a little bit like far off, and it takes a lot of work to every year deliver like the heating oil and that stuff. It's an old house, old kind of heater, you know. So I try to use a wood oven as often as I can to just compensate for as long as possible. And also because Kami, the cat, likes to sleep there. So yeah, I use that a lot right now, until it gets so cold that I really need the heater. But yeah, it's expensive. Trying to save a little bit of money here and there. Someone's asking what I'm growing. These are all different kind of cactus hybrids from the last couple of years or so. Either crosses that I made or crosses by Uwe Kahle. I might also sow out some botanical seeds here and there. I just, you know, when you're a breeder, you have so many seeds, and when you make a cross, you see the potential. So every cross I do, I see enough potential that I would sow it out. So you end up with all these seeds where you have to either decide if you want to grow them yourself or give away. And yeah, so I try to grow as much as I can of my own crosses. But yeah, in the last weeks when I was filming these sowing out videos, we've sown out a lot of seeds by Uwe Kahle. He's a friend of mine, German breeder, and it's just a great breeder. I haven't seen like a lot of crosses by him that I would not sow out. He's just a good guy. Non-cactus succulents, no, not really. I have I have one plant like that I just got as a gift, something like that. I'm not even sure what it is. It's just one of these classic plants that you get in the DIY store. Apart from that, no. I either like cacti or other stuff, like other plants, fruit trees. I want to do more fruit tree stuff. But succulents themselves, I never had luck with them. I don't know. And I'm so limited with the grow space in the greenhouses. I have very small greenhouses. And yeah, that's why I'm forced to just sow out the cactus stuff. It's already too much for the little space that I have, you know. Hey, any plans of visiting Australia? I would love to. I've been invited to EGA a few times. I've been close with them. They are good friends, and I've considered it a few times, but because of health reasons, I never did. But I don't want to rule it out at this point. Depending on, you know, if I at some point am able to lean back a little, pay a little bit for the flight here and there, and maybe spend a month of like, you know, vacation. Maybe I'm doing that one day. I seriously consider it. I've been asked to be at EGA to speak there, and they are great people. They're good friends of mine. I would love to, and also have so many Australian friends. It's a great country. Whether or not I would be able to get in, like with all that stuff, you know, who knows, you know? Maybe they would like want to talk to me about like my cactus seeds when I get there, you know. But I would love to one day, maybe. Australia, New Zealand. I always wanted to move there when I was younger, but then I realized how difficult it is, and also that you You know, you need to have a fair amount of money to do it in a way that you can really do it, you know. And also, I don't know, taking my plants there would also be very difficult, but it's one of the countries that I really like, where I would love to live. It must be a great place to live. My favorite cactus, I like Bamboy. That is a hybrid that I've shown this year, has flowered for the first time. This year it was my favorite hybrid of the year, probably one of the favorites that I've ever had. It has these amazing big flowers, over 20 centimeters, and very colorful, cool plant. You know, I really like Bamboy, but there are other hybrids that I will never get tired of. Flying Saucer. Flying Saucer is a great plant that I really like. You just have to see it with your own eyes and it will blow you away. Yeah, I'm sure it's not, that's why I mean, you know, you cannot say, okay, I will bring my plants to Australia, even if they would be like, I know there are quarantine conditions and the plants that are permitted and all the plants that I have are permitted, you know, but you can still not take them because you would need a photo certificate for all in order to take something with you. It's not easy. So it's highly unlikely that you can, as a breeder, move to Australia and still work with the plants that you had back home. You would have to start new, start fresh from seeds maybe, and even with the seeds, like I said, a lot of species are permitted to ship to Australia, but it doesn't. But they feel like that's just a kind of recommendation. They don't really are bound by that. They just destroy what they want. So you would probably not like, it would be a fresh start, and that means a lot when you're already a breeder who just has a certain kind of plants that you are working with every year. Yeah, but maybe one day when I'm kind of can step away a little bit from the cactus breeding, maybe I would do it. I'm not ruling it out. Never say never. Wasn't something I like being here, you know, like in the where no people, where my family is. But if at some point, you know, when you get older and when you lose family members and all that, if at some point I would have no roots here anymore, I might do that. I might move away. How's Mika and Kami? They're great. They're great. Mika is upstairs. She's like, you know, we've been out a little bit earlier this morning, and Kami has a great day. Today's a little bit warmer, and it means she can go outside too again. Not so cold as it was in the last days, and she loves that. Actually, we're having a few decent days with Kami. I'm very happy that it's going a little bit better in the last days, but it doesn't mean she's less. She needs less attention. You know, she's every couple of hours she needs something. She comes to me and screams for something. You know. Yeah, someone writing that inflation is so out of control in Australia. I want to say it's the same here. You know, we also have bad inflation, but I've seen, for example, the housing prices, the prices for homes in Australia, and it's insane. I couldn't believe how expensive a home in Australia is. Makes it very hard to one day own a house. You know, like, it was someone I was talking with, it wasn't like crossing a million, like where he lived in that area, and I couldn't believe it. You know, was really surprising. I mean, the Australian dollar is a little bit less valuable than the euro, but I guess it would still be something like 750,000, 800,000 euro. Yeah, inflation is completely out of control here too. It's so hard to survive. I see it because I'm you know, my family and all, they have the same experience. Like just a few weeks ago, the coffee prices were out of control. Just buying one pack of coffee, the prices went up to incredible heights. I think they had a bad year with the coffee. So the coffee they were charging like 10 euro for a pack of coffee, and that would probably be something like 15 Australian dollar, maybe 14. I'm not sure, but it was a lot. Hey, good morning, Andrea. Yeah, it was a lot. I was really surprised how expensive everything has become. It becomes more and more difficult to just survive. I don't see it getting better, in my opinion. There's like they would have to raise the minimum wage, stuff like that. And like tie it to inflation. Look at inflation, and every time inflation goes up, you just gotta increase the minimum wage. I don't see another way with inflation that's like that. Hey, Maria. Thank you for being here, guys. I appreciate it. It's a lot of fun doing this. Last few days, channel has grown a lot, getting a lot of comments over the night. I was very surprised how fast it helped the channel too. Yeah, so I brought a microphone here because I wanted to improve the quality of the channel, and I put it on the smartphone, but it wasn't working. Got no sound. So I decided I want to buy a microphone sometime soon. So I will get me a little microphone here to increase to improve the quality of the sound. I know that the way I'm recording is a little bit like on the fly, a little spontaneously. So maybe we will work on that in the future if this becomes a long-term thing with the streaming. So yeah. Overall, yeah, so here are the containers that I've sown out. I'm kind of disappointed because a lot of them haven't come up yet. So we might have to, I don't know, bring the lamp into this whole thing. Thank you. That is good to know because I'm not hearing it, Sometimes I was just watching older videos that I uploaded like from 2022. And at that time I had a smartphone that filmed great, that had great colors, but somehow the microphone was at a spot where you constantly touched it and it decreased the quality a lot. Everything was cracking up and all that. So it's good to know that this one works. But long term, I feel like maybe we're getting one, just a good one. I'm always impressed when I hear like a podcast, and I don't know what it is about the microphone, but the voice sounds great on certain podcasts that use a good microphone. A good microphone goes a long way. So I always resisted against it. Always resisted when I am filming my videos outside. But for indoors, it makes a lot of sense to just have something on the table that you can just switch on, turn on, and you're good to go. Okay, so yeah, here, check them out. This looks a little bit better. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8 seedlings. This is okay. We will be moving those under the lamp. The others need a little bit longer. Let me see. Yeah, I'm just checking the containers, and some of them haven't come up at all. Maybe we're just not waiting long enough. Maybe we're not patient enough. Sowing out, sometimes it takes a good 10 days. And, when you're filming, we're wrapping them up, sowing out, and putting them on the stove besides the oven. And it's just, sometimes it needs a little bit longer. Maybe we just have to be a little bit more patient. And I hate that. I'm very impatient. When do you fertilize your seedlings? At this point, I will not fertilize them until maybe 3-4 months. In the beginning, the first 3 weeks, when they germinate, they have enough energy that just comes from within the seed corn, and then after that, you have nutrient in the soil that we're putting in. So this gives us a window of a few months, and after that, it's good to fertilize. You know, I know a lot of breeders, they start fertilizing after 4 weeks, 6 weeks, but it has to be very diluted, very small percentages, maybe 1/10 of the concentration that a normal fertilizer would that you would give an adult plant, or maybe one, like, I don't know, definitely very diluted, because they are sensitive and a strong fertilizer can just melt them away. But it's not absolutely necessary. The sooner you fertilize, the faster they grow, the faster you get them through the difficult first couple of months. So it can make sense to fertilize early, but I'm trying to avoid it indoors right now, because we don't need it absolutely. And fertilizing stuff in these bags is kind of difficult, because you need to open up every single one, need to spray them inside, close them up again. So it's extra work. Maybe we're doing it in a couple months. Until then, it's probably not necessary. They're just doing great. They still have energy from within the soil, nutrients in the soil. It takes a while. Someone asking about my experience with self-pollinating plants. I mean, it really depends on the cactus. A lot of cacti cannot self-pollinate. You know, if it's something like mammillaria, I think they can self-pollinate. I'm not entirely sure. Like the ones with these tiny pinkish flowers, I think they can self-pollinate. But a lot of the plants that I grow, they are self-sterile, meaning they need pollen from another plant to successfully produce seeds. But sometimes it works, you know, when you have a self-fertile plant. There are some self-fertile hybrids that I have, or plants like Cerenzia, what was it? A few Cerenzia are self-fertile. Cerenzia spachiana, no, not spachiana. Foliana is self-fertile. A few of those that from the relationship of Telegonoides, Cerenzia telegonoides, some of the Gräser hybrids, they are self-fertile. And with these, it can make sense to pollinate with its own pollen, because they are so fertile, they will instantly set seeds, you know. Then Schaffery, Cerenzia Schaffery is self-fertile a lot. I have a few plants where I make crosses, and it makes a difference if you pollinate or not. If you do not pollinate, they produce fewer seeds, but overall, they set seeds on their own, even if you wouldn't pollinate them. It's just something, I'm not sure where it comes from. Maybe a natural hybridization with something that is self-fertile somewhere in the family tree of these species could have led to them being more, or just them being more fertile, you know. Strong fertility in pollen. I have some plants, when I use the pollen, put it on somewhere, they instantly produce seeds no matter what kind of plant it is, you know. Yeah, other plants like some of the Mexican species, you know, the Mexican cacti genera, they are self-fertile. Some of them are, some of them aren't. It depends on what kind of form you have, what kind of populations you have. It's always about how they evolved, which plants are in their family tree, you know. Yeah, someone asking about grafting them, grafting seedlings. It can make sense. I mean, grafting seedlings can save you a lot of time, but it's also risky. You need to be good at it. You need to have a good grafting stock. If you have grafting stocks that are ready, that are actively growing, pushing out growth, it can be worth it to graft early on. It can make sense to graft albino seedlings because they will not survive on their own, or mutants that you see. Personally, I try to wait a little bit longer. I try to wait until that point where I can cut a seedling, like remove the tip of the seedling, and the base would still survive even if the graft would fail. That I'm trying to do that. So I give them often a year, maybe 6 months to a year. And at that point, I sometimes graft. But last year I was just overwhelmed with all the plants, and I stopped grafting because I hadn't any space left to put them. Yeah, thank you, Andrea, for the compliment with the flowers. I'm doing my best. It takes a lot of work to make them flower. You know, my cactus season starting in March, when I already start watering, start fertilizing, to get them ready so they flower a lot in June and July. It takes a lot of preparation to get them to flower. Yeah, I mean, look, someone talking about the cacti not being able to produce seeds if they are not pollinated. It really depends on the cacti. Some can self-pollinate, some cannot. And the ones that can self-pollinate, it makes sense to still pollinate them with pollen because it increases the number of seeds that you get from a fruit. So if in doubt, always pollinate it. It's best to pollinate with pollen from another plant, in case what you are pollinating is self-sterile, meaning cannot produce seeds without pollen from another plant. So yeah, always pollinate, and if it works, it works. If not, you know something was off, and then you can look into the history of the plant, genetics and all. Someone asking if I graft on Perisciopsis. I do not. Where I live, the climate is just too cold. But I have worked with them. I tried experimenting with them. They're great for seedlings. I would work with them if I had a better climate. You need to keep them in growth. You need to have them in a warm spot, maybe in a grow tent. Temperature 20-degree minimum. And then you can use Perisciopsis very well. They are great, effective at producing like getting seedlings to a large size very fast. So I would use them if they weren't so like cold sensitive. Yeah, Andrea, albinos need to be grafted. It's just, I mean, some of them can produce chlorophyll on their own, some cannot. And sometimes you need to try it out. If you see that you are losing seedlings that are albino, then they are definitely not able to produce chlorophyll, and grafting can make sense, you know? If in doubt, I mean, with albinos, I would probably recommend to graft them because so many of them cannot survive on their own. All those gymnocalycium hybrids, all these astrophytum hybrids, those colorful plants, that pink in color, that they will not be able to survive on their own. Yeah. Yeah, a heat map, something like that, a heater, keeping the temperature of the grafting stocks at a rate where they continue to grow. Because if the temperature is too low, then you have a perfect graft, but the grafting stock isn't able to put in the energy into the scion because it just doesn't grow itself. You know, they need to be actively growing to make sense. You can still graft on a plant that isn't actively growing, and very often the connection has worked too, but it doesn't mean that you will get a good growth rate out of it. In order to get a good growth rate, make sure that the grafting stock is in full growth, has been getting water for a month or two before you graft, and has been getting nutrients before you graft, you know? Yeah, but I know a lot of people that graft on Perisciopsis, probably Australians, people from warmer climate, maybe California might also work. But I guess the winter in California might still be a little bit too cold for them to have them outside. I would love if they were a little bit more cold hardy. I find them fascinating because they are basically an early version of cacti. Like the way they evolved, I think these plants evolved first before the other cacti. So they still have leaves. It's a very interesting kind of plant if you look at it from an evolutionary point of view, just looking at how life developed, how cactus life developed. I find them, I once started sowing out rarer species of Perisciopsis, but that was before the time I knew that I wouldn't be able to guarantee the temperature that they need. Hey mates, hey to Sydney. Someone from Sydney saying hello. Thank you for joining us. I appreciate it. Someone asking if they have to buy a Perisciopsis that's an active growth. Probably not. I don't think you can buy them at this time of year where they are actively growing. I mean, it depends where you live. If you live in a country like that has winter now, you will probably just have to have luck to get some that are actively growing. If not, you just buy what you get and make sure to get them growing. Put them under a plant lamp, give them high temperatures, and hope that in 3 weeks from now, when you want to graft, that they are ready. If not, if all else fails, you can still graft, but you might not get good growth rates out of it. It has to make sense. If you are just grafting in order to graft, then sometimes it might even be better to have them on their own roots, because grafting is also stress. It means risk. You can lose seedlings. A lot of people have a high rate of failure with grafts. It's a learning experience, So yeah, I graft a lot on cold hardy plants, cold hardy species, candicans, all these thick, round like species or hybrids that you can use. Like how's that cultivar called? Like that is so common in the garden store. Like the one with the white flowers. It's a candicans kind of plant, and they are very useful. Gräser hybrids are very good for grafting. Harisia can be great for grafting. They were formerly an Eriocerois. It's a great kind of grafting stock too that takes the cold. It always depends on how cold it gets, how cold the winters are, because sometimes you lose the grafting stock in winter, and then next year you have lost the whole thing. So it makes sense to get something to work with that takes whatever winter climate you have. Hey mate, thank you. I appreciate it. I love the stream too. Streaming is a new world for me, and I see all these new chances. It allows you to be in conversation with people, to talk about what you're doing on camera, to discuss whatever kind of project we're taking on. In spring, in summer, we will take the stream outside, just doing gardening work. I want to try that out maybe in the next couple of weeks even. So we're taking the stream out, and I will just do my stuff. You can join if you like, and if not, you have the nature sounds and all that. I see a lot of new potential in the stream. Someone asked if I can repeat the plants that I recommend, like as grafting stocks. Yeah, like I said, all kinds of cold hardy Trichocerois species. Everything that is that has a certain diameter. Sorensia candicans, Trichocerois candicans is a great grafting stock that has been used a lot. Spachianus is a great grafting stock that is very accepting. All those relatives of Spachianus, they can be great for grafting. Then I often show these ruffled Gräser hybrids that have these ruffled flowers, and they have a huge diameter. They are almost like tersheki in regards to the diameter. They come from candy cans and are thicker, and you can graft on them pretty nicely, pretty easily, and it makes a lot of sense when you have a bigger plant, because the diameter is already so big. You should always try to align the diameter to make sure that it stays stable, that you have a graft where there's no room for something to get in between and destroy the connection. So everything that has an equal diameter is a good grafting stock. The only species that I try to avoid are species like Bridgesi, Cuscensis. They can also work, but they are more slender, they are thinner, and when you graft, you need to be able to put pressure on the grafting stock, on the scion, and on the stock. And when it's a thin kind of body like Bridgesi, it tends to be more unstable early on as a young plant. If you graft on a very big one, it's not a problem. But if you graft on, let's say, pieces like this, or maybe seedlings, they start to wiggle around very fast and you cannot apply enough pressure. So all kinds of these species can make good grafting stocks. Just look at the diameter, look at the frost tolerance. I once tried to graft on tersheki, but I didn't get through the vascular bundle. It was like a tree. So that makes no sense. Growing cacti in order to produce seeds can make a lot of sense. Everything's expensive, but also when you're growing from seeds also a lot cheaper than growing actual plants. If you buy a larger plant, the large cutting of a cool clone, it can cost a good like $50 to $100. If you're sowing out, a few seeds cost you maybe $5, $2 to $5, and you get 100 seedlings from that. You just need a little bit more time, but you have such a wide variety that you can grow from seeds. Can make a lot of sense to grow from seeds. Also, when you like mutants, monstrous kind of grows or crested grows, people often sow out just 1,000 seeds. You can get 1,000 seeds from wholesale for maybe $10, and you just select the 10 best crested ones, something like that. I always love growing from seeds because it is something for people who do not have a lot of money. That is why I always loved growing from seeds. It's a good way. It's a good way to get. Also, you need to get good at it, because otherwise you will lose the seedlings at some point. It takes a lot of skill and experience to sowing out is easy. Getting them to germinate is easy, but over the course of the first 3 years, you come into so many different situations where you have to single them out, or where you have to avoid certain problems, and that is kind of hard. But it makes sense to stick with it, to learn it. It's so great. It's a great hobby. Yes. I mean, if you spend £10 on 15 seeds, that's a lot. And I mean, it depends on the quality of the seeds. If it's great quality of seeds, like for example, the type of stuff that you get from Misplant. I like Misplant as a breeder. It's just a good breeder. And some of the stuff that he lists is expensive, like the TPM seeds, but they can be worth it long term if you grow them out. I've sown one container from the cross TPM crossed with Zelly, and I got a whole container full of crested plants, normal plants, cool flowers. If you look at it from this point of view, $10 isn't a lot, but if you pay $10 for seeds that are white label from wholesale, just random seeds, then it doesn't make sense. Also, if you buy from sources like I don't know, these classic marketplaces like eBay. Sometimes the seeds are poor quality. Sometimes the seeds are older. It makes sense sometimes to support breeders. That is my recommendation. Try to buy from breeders, because a breeder knows exactly how the quality of their seeds is. And a breeder is a little bit more forced. If people write a lot of negative reviews about the seeds of a breeder, they will have a hard time continuing as a breeder. They have a reputation that they need to, that they need to protect. And that's why it makes sense to buy from a breeder often. About that, someone wrote about the TPM Zelly hybrid. You need to grow that one out, because it's one of the best crosses that I have raised. I have shown a flowering plant in summer from that cross, from that TPM Zelly cross, and the flower looked amazing. It looked like that, like some of those epiphyllum hybrids that have the virus. There's a virus among epiphyllum cultivars, and it produces some kind of washed out kind of color pattern. And that TPM Zelly cross had the same kind of, or a similar kind of washed out color pattern. It was one of the best crosses I've ever seen. And even the normal seedlings looked amazing. So grow it out, get it to flower. That is one of the best crosses that Misplant ever did. And I've had that chat with him. I've told him, and he said the same. This is a great cross. Make sure to grow it out. I have a revert too. Someone writing about a revert from that cross. The revert that I have is one of the few that I lost a few normal crests because they are so vulnerable to mealybug. So some of the reverts were the first to flower, were the first to make it. I'm so glad that I got the reverts grafted early on, because otherwise I would be at risk to lose all of them. I don't know what it is with crests, but they are super sensitive to mealybug. It isn't easy to grow crests without running into trouble with mealybug. I've sprayed my plants a few times this year. I hope that I get the crest problem under control, but the crests suffer the most from mealybug. So, and I hate mealybug. That's a terrible pest. Someone writing that the TBM, like the Brigesi monstrose, has never flowered. Look, some people have shown photos of flowering TBM hybrids. Personally, I think a lot of them are not that cultivar that was originally around, like the original Brigesi monstrose that came from Backeberg. Backeberg has written about that plant and its inability to flower. I'm sure it can flower under perfect conditions, and if you maybe have a lucky revert that you are growing. But a lot of the flowering plants that I've seen, I wasn't sure if it's not just another clone, another mutated Brigesi that just looks very similar, because certain body types come out a lot. There's just a tendency in crested growth. For example, the crested growth has a kind of similar grow pattern, and the same can probably be said about the monstrose growth. So I'm not convinced that the old school hybrids, they are very hard to get to flower, and it might not work at all. Maybe in extreme cases where someone has luck with a revert, but I've seen so many really good breeders try and get them to flower, and they didn't flower. So maybe they need to reach a huge size, plant it out, and then when you plant them out, they sometimes put out an unusual side arm with a revert kind of growth that can flower. Then that is the way to getting them to flower in the pot. Even I haven't gotten them to flower. It is hard in a pot, in a greenhouse. So yeah. need better lights. Yeah, I mean, I'm using a plant lamp that is from Mars Hydro. That is a TS1000, and it's not a great lamp. If you ask people who really have experience with these kinds of lamps, I don't have a lot of experience because I was never forced to work with a grow lamp. So I just got me some basic medium model that will do the work, and that Mars Hydro lamp that I have, that I paid maybe $100, $80 for it, and it works. It works great. The seedlings look great. It can probably also um, raise bigger cacti. But if you really want the maximum, the best possible lamp, you need to look at the most current reviews. I heard good things about like a manufacturer called Spider Farmer, but I can't tell you if they are actually really good. I haven't tested them. Maybe my next lamp that I'm getting, if I need another one, will be by that manufacturer. Like I said, Spider Farmer. That is just a brand that I read being recommended sometimes. But for cacti, even even something by Mars Hydro will work. Make sure you get something that is cost effective, nothing that uses extreme amounts of electricity because it's so expensive, you know. The lamp that I have uses up maybe 100 watt of electricity, and that's already a lot. It makes a difference of, I don't know, maybe $60 a month, maybe more, and that's a lot of money if you think about it, just for growing seedlings and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but I wanna use more. Experience, if I have experience with Noisius, is that a shop by Alexander Noisius from Facebook that is posting on Facebook? If so, I do not have experience with that. I know him from his posts. He used to post in some of the groups, but apart from that, I have no experience. I think I once bought a plant on eBay that I got from him. Well, didn't know him, but I do not know him well enough, you know. But I heard he's probably reliable. I mean, he's been around for a while. I suspect at that point, you should be able to at least look up some of the feedback on Facebook. I haven't heard anything bad, like people saying anything bad about his stuff. Yeah, I mean, he's big in other kind of genera, but yeah, we only like randomly interacted. It's nothing. We don't really know each other that well. He's been posting on a few Facebook groups here and there, and yeah, but I'm sure he's been around so long. At some point, there would be a lot of negative experience if he wouldn't be reliable, at least. Okay, yeah, that is possible. I don't think there are lamps that are built specially for cacti. I don't think that's the case. I haven't seen one that is built specially for cacti, a plant lamp. So you will have to look at whatever is available on the market. You know, you look at the range that they are giving out. But I always felt like in order to grow cacti indoors, it takes more than just the light, you know, and you need to be able to recreate the conditions that you have outdoors or in a greenhouse, like with humidity. You need to do a lot of work to make it work, you know. You need a strong lamp first and foremost. You need to write the right light spectrum, and when you have that, you need to treat the plants like it's outdoors. You need to spray them, you need to fertilize them, you need to give them different temperature ranges and all that stuff. So I was never really a fan of growing cacti indoors, but it can happen. Like with the newest generation of lamps, I'm sure some of them can be used for that, you know. Can definitely work. Personally, I mean, I'm not sure if he's building the lamps. I mean, I have no idea. Today there are a lot of brands that you can where you can put your label on, you know. So I'm not sure if he manufactures the lamps himself or not. No idea. But I can only tell you that like a lot of plants would work for cacti, especially for cactus seedlings. But I haven't seen a lamp that would be a perfect replacement for just the light outdoors. It is so difficult to compensate for that, you know. So it makes sense to grow them indoors until they are big enough to bring them out, to introduce them into the environment. But that is it. You know, you at some point you get a pest indoors. Like let's say you suddenly have a mealybug infestation indoors, and then it becomes so much more difficult, you know. You have to spray them indoors. It's all a little bit, I don't know. I always used to say growing cacti indoors isn't possible the way you do it, but today with the next generation of lamps, I am, you know, I'm able to say maybe I was a little bit too fast being so critical about it. I'm sure at some point they will produce lamps that will be able to replace, where you can just grow them indoors and have a healthy diameter, healthy overall plant. But I don't know. It takes a lot probably, and electricity costs also a factor. You know, the stronger the lamp, the more it costs. I just look forward to the time when the plant lamps are more efficient, not so expensive. You know. Yeah. Okay. Someone talking about the indoor greenhouse that they built. Sure, that is a great way, or one of these tents that you can use. They will work for cacti too. They have reflective material inside. Will work indoors too. Yeah, exactly. Someone write that the sun is free. That is what I mean. I mean, my electricity bill, I pay $100 or even more every month, and that is just from growing seedlings and having a normal kind of use like smartphone and a television. The electricity costs are already so high. You know, I try to use the sun as often as I can, but when you're like in here, we're growing seedlings, so the plant lamp um, helps us a lot because you can control it, you can dim it sometimes, so that for cactus seedlings, the plant lamp is awesome, and you could even grow cactus seedlings with the cheapest of the cheapest plant lamps. It would somehow work. It wouldn't work the same way. The growth speed would be terrible, but you would still be able to do it. You know, you would still be able to raise them. You could even raise cactus seedlings in front of a window that gets a little light. It's not the same like a good lamp, but it can work. Yeah, I mean, I really recommend working with a lamp when you're growing seedlings. It allows you to get them through the first difficult time very fast, and that is the goal. Getting a sown out plant to a point where it's pretty safe from losing it, because at this point, when you have seedlings like that, one day in too much heat and they are gone. One slug taking a bite at them and they are gone. Sometimes you have bad luck and you get a slug inside the container. They can instantly, you will instantly lose them. So everything that gets the seedlings through that first maybe year as fast as possible goes a long way, helps you a lot. I seedlings, like what photo period, like that, like the time, like the difference between like light and night. With cacti, they aren't like other plants, you know. you could theoretically keep a cactus seedling under a plant lamp 24/7, just keeping the light on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You could do that. You could very well do that. And I know some people who actually do it successfully because it allows them to grow faster, grow more. If you are not really, if that not isn't really your goal, I have them at, like, I don't know, I want to have the light on when I'm awake. So the lamp goes on in the morning, 6 o'clock, and it goes out in like somewhat around, I don't know, 8 p.m. in the evening, like 20, like 2000 in the evening, like, 20 o'clock in like European time, that's like 8 p.m. and that is a good time. You could also like use the same kind of time schedule that you see from other plants and have the lamp go out at maybe 6 or something like that. It really depends on how much growth speed you want, and if you have to have, like, if you need to look at the electricity bill, because that also affects it. Theoretically, you could run the plant lamp just 8 to 12 hours a day, would be no problem. They will deal with it no matter what. Cactus seedling can run 24 hours light. That is interesting. I mean, I found that interesting in an evolutionary way, because they are so different in that regard. No idea how it works with metabolism and all that stuff. I just know that the plants that I've seen were healthy. I mean, long term, maybe they aren't flowering so much, but the people who do that, they aren't doing it with flowering age plants, They are doing it with seedlings, or they are doing it with Mexicans that are grafted with Mexican cacti, let's say Ariocarpus, not to name a few problematic species that are, that I don't want to bring in because of YouTube. You know how it is, but they are doing it with these kinds of Mexican kind of cacti that they want to grow fast and fast, and they flower a lot easier. It is a lot easier to get a Mexican to flower, a Mexican cactus to flower, like the small ones that are grafted, compared to one like a Trichocereus. I'm not sure if you would get it to flower if you would have it under 24/7 light. Probably not. I doubt it. I greatly doubt it, but I have never tried. Someone should try that out. Just put them under a lamp all year round and see if it flowers, but I don't think it would, because they have their schedule, like the seasons kind of schedule. You would have to keep the light and try to replicate a normal cactus season with the temperature drop, with a little bit more rain in spring, and I don't think it would work. It's so hard. Even if I put my cacti, like if I have them when I had them indoors and just brought them out in spring, they wouldn't flower. So I don't think that could work. Yeah, someone writing that their seedling is just a few millimeters tall. A slug is dangerous to all that. I often lose seedlings when I bring them out too fast. Indoors, if you have indoors, I mean, you usually do not have the slugs indoors, but it can happen, If you move a cacti indoors, you always have these little, like, animals, insects, slugs, everything that is in the pot that you do not see when you move them indoors, and then you see that you have a slug walking around the cellar. So that can happen, but usually when you grow seedlings indoors, you start keeping them in a closed bag. So you would have to have slug eggs in the container, and that it does happen, but it doesn't happen all the time. Yeah, someone writing that they try to replicate natural conditions. That is a good way to grow. That is how I try to grow. I mean, when you are not sure how to grow a certain plant, just look at the way it grows in its natural habitat. Like that is why there are big difference between Peruvian and Bolivian species. They are kind of close. They are similar. They are closely related, and they have evolutionary links. But the Peruvians need a more humid kind of climate, or the Ecuadorians need a more humid kind of climate, and the Bolivians are more used to this dry kind of desert. When the humidity gets too high, they are more prone to fungal infections. All these spots that you see on Brijesi, for example, that is something that happens a lot more with these species, Yeah, slugs are a huge problem. I try to avoid slugs, but when you move, I just had to move my cacti into the cellar, and I didn't want to do it because I hate doing it, because I know it's bad to overwinter cacti in a setting like a cellar. It can work, but it also comes with so many problems. Like you suddenly have insects in the cellar. You suddenly have slugs in the cellar. When I bring cacti indoors over winter, I always have to walk through the cellar to try to find slugs that are just looking for a way out there, because they don't want to be indoors also. They want to be outdoors. So and if you have them in the cellar or in the grow space, it can be a huge problem. Also, when you have pets, I try to avoid having slugs indoors, because I don't want to have Mika or Kami eating one, because that can be dangerous, Someone asking what I do when I want to get rid of crosses that I don't want to keep. Look, it's been a huge problem for me, because you grow so many, and you also need to sort out in order to have progress, because you always need to sort out. Otherwise, you will always have the same kind of plants. You will be able to make a few good crosses here and there, but in order to achieve a really great quality, you need to sort out every year. Friend of mine, Uwe Kahle, he sorts out, like, I don't know, 40-50% of the plants that are flowering for the first time, maybe more. So what a lot of breeders do, they just give away plants, and I have done the same. I used to just put the plants on the street locally, told the locals here that they can pick up whatever they want and get them. But last year it didn't work out so well. I ended up with still having a lot of my plants that I put out for free, and I had to bring them back in. I had to either put them on the compost or like take them back in, and I ended up bringing them back into the cellar again, which is exactly like what I'm moving into the cellar now is stuff that I should probably put on the compost bin. If a lot of breeders sort out that it goes directly onto the compost, and I don't like to do that, so I often try to give them away, but I can't spend time shipping them around, because it's so many plants. You end up with like 500 plants, and you would be busy shipping all the time. And I stepped away from having to ship stuff because it was so much work, and that's so I might have to at some point, I don't know, maybe I will make agreements that certain people pick up like all the plants that I'm sorting out at once, or I need to put them on the compost again. I try to ship a little bit here and there, but it's just not possible when you are a breeder and every year you sort out a good 500,000 plants. That is a lot, and you would never be able to ship them all, And also, when you're a breeder like I am, I can't even there are a lot of plants that have little blemishes, little skin problems. You cannot sell them, if you want to sell them, you need to make sure that you need to spray them all the time. You need to make sure that every plant has a perfect condition. Every plant is free of any kind of pest. And since I just put the plants into the garden over summer, you just can't you cannot be sure that there isn't any kind of like living thing in the soil, you know. So it is so difficult to sell plants. I have moved away from trying to sell plants because today you should theoretically have to write a passport for every plant you ship. You cannot even legally gift away plants without the passport. That is how bad the bureaucracy in the European Union has become. So I have moved away from. I try to give away stuff locally, and whatever isn't picked up locally, I have to probably at some point put on the compost. But yeah, maybe I will try to, I don't know, find a middle ground, ship some more stuff away again, you know. Yeah, I thought about getting rid of them on Facebook, on eBay, but like I said, you need to guarantee that they are perfect. You need to make sure that they are free of any problems. And a lot of the plants that I sort out, they are not perfect, you know. They have been sorted out for a reason, you know. And sometimes you barely make back the cost that you have by spending like a couple hours labeling it, packing it, like you need to repot the plant. And when you do that, it adds up. And keep in mind, you have to make sure that that you need a passport in the EU. Someone donated something, greatly appreciated. Thank you, mate. I appreciate it. It's not what I'm doing it, but of course I love when I'm not going broke while doing it. So I appreciate it. Thank you. You know, but yeah, the bureaucracy about selling plants where I live in the European Union, it's a nightmare. Think about every little seedling that you give away. You need to write a passport, a plant passport. And I know why they are doing it. I know it makes sense from their point of view. But in effect, what that kind of regulation actually does is it decreases, it reduces people's ability to give away stuff just by covering the cost, you know. There's this meme going around about this old person, that old man who kept all these rare apple species around by propagating them, by propagating rare apple species. So there's this meme of this man sitting there, and the meme talks about all the 1,000 rare cultivars of apples that he has propagated and kept them around. And when you have a legislation where you have to have a business and have to write passports for every plant you give away, you also reduce people's ability, just random people who used to propagate these rare things that are only still around because someone found it important enough to propagate it. And you reduce the ability of people to do that. I wanted to sell plants here and there, so I applied to the organization that does that state organization, and they were totally not interested in working with me, trying to make this work. You know, they have all these laws, and you can either completely ignore them, or try to follow them. And when you try to follow them, it instantly puts you in the spot where you have an immense amount of paperwork just to ship a plant from one plant friend to another. Keep in mind, I wouldn't even be able to gift them away without having to do all that paperwork and get a plant passport. I found it insane, and that's where my plan to give away plants ended. You can still give away plants locally. You can, for example, go to the flea market and sell plants on the flea market. That is possible, you know. But that's the only way you can still gift away plants in the European Union. I think they need to rework that because that is the kind of bureaucracy that gives fodder to arguments against the European Union. Because they bring in all these good ideas that are basically in the interest of the consumer. It is in. You should be able to kind of trace back where the plant came from that you got, in case something is diseased. So it makes sense in theory, but in practice, it just keeps people from being able to share rare cultivars that are only around because someone somewhere likes that kind of group of plants, those cacti or those apples, and those people often fund the hobby by selling off a few seedlings here and there. That has to be possible. There has to be legislation that allows that, because otherwise you kind of block that kind of propagation that is needed to ensure survival, long-term survival of rare cultivars today. I mean, look at the way a lot of cacti would be extinct today in nature. They are extinct in nature, and they are only around because nurseries are propagating them. I'm not saying nurseries that grow rare cacti. Very often they also make things worse by buying seeds from rare plants and continue to take seeds from the habitat. But long term, the nurseries will be needed to make sure that a lot of rare cacti do not go extinct. Just look at the situation in Mexico, and at some point they might have to be able to bring them back to nature. So much habitat is lost due to landscaping, that kind of stuff, So it is good to have a fail-safe, something, if all else fails, that the plants are still around at least. Yeah, someone writing about rare apple trees. What I said, I was greatly surprised that there are many rare cultivars that are no longer around, that have been lost. Old school apples. I had apples here on my land, and I got rid of them to build the greenhouses, and I regret it today. I really regret taking down the apple trees that I have. I had 2 apple trees here, and I took them down because the apples would fall onto the greenhouse. But these spots were the only sunny spots that I had, so I took them down, and I regret it until today. Like apple cultivars, the old school kind of apples. A lot of people have grown these modern cultivars, and they are just not the same. They haven't evolved the same. They aren't resistant against the diseases that the old school cultivars were, because only those old school cultivars had survived back then, when they had similar kind of bottleneck situations that brought them to extinction. So you need those old basic forms that you need to keep them around. And at some point you will get a pest, some kind of pest that a cultivar hasn't evolved with in mind, and you might lose them. Look at the bananas and how sensitive that one cultivar is to all kinds of different pathogens. They are just not used to the situation like in the field. Yeah, okay. So I guess I'm probably gotta like move off the stream soon. I want to take Mika for a walk. Mika has kind of like, the time when I used to take her to a walk is now the time when I'm streaming, so I try my best to make up for it by taking her for a walk later. So yeah, I might take the stream offline soon, but I'll be here again tomorrow, and I will have to start working in the gardens in the next day, so I will also take the stream out with me. So I will not be able to talk, but you will just join me clearing the area. And yeah, I hope you like it. Doing my best to do these streams and all, and I appreciate support and all that, No problem. someone just woke up. I mean, the time is kind of like inconvenient for a lot of people. So I'm trying to work. I'm trying to do something like at a later time, doing more streams later on during the day. Maybe in the future, I might even move the stream a little bit more towards the middle of the day. Yeah, the time frame works perfect, for example, for Australia. And it's a little bit more difficult in the United States. United States time frame, I guess they have night now. And I try to get like a little bit of both, try to see where the supporters come from that want to join the chat. So I try to do a little bit of both. So sometime in the next days we will do a live stream in the evening when it's just maybe like 11 in the morning in the United States, something like that, you know. So yeah, I will make up for it again. Okay, guys. So yeah, I loved this today. I appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow. If not, you can still like write in the comments in the videos, in just the regular videos. I will post more again today. Later today, I want to post more of the flower videos from the 2022 season. And so yeah, if you have thoughts later on, just write it in the comments. I still see it and I get back. If not, I'll be back here tomorrow in the chat again. I love this stuff. I want to continue doing it. It also gives me kind of a reason to do something in the morning, you know? So I love that. I appreciate you guys being here. And thank you for the support. I'm always humble when I see that people get up to share time space with me. So thank you all, guys. I appreciate it. And until tomorrow, okay? Thank you, guys.